Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm hoping you guys are all having a fantastic day. So in today's video, as you can tell by the title, we will be talking about a very large fall storm that will be occurring around a week from now. All three models that we look at, the major ones, the GFS, European and Canadian, they agree on the system occurring. They obviously have some differences in its track and its intensity and its kind of more finer details. But yes, it's definitely the largest one of the season so far. And again, I call it a fall storm because meteorological fall starts September 1st. And really, I think by the time it will be occurring, it will be astronomical fall, which is usually what people go by anyways. Okay, before we start talking about this, I want to quickly mention if you guys are new to this channel, hello, welcome. Obviously, check out the channel, watch the video. If you do enjoy it, consider subscribing. Obviously, don't do this yet. Do it once you've enjoyed the video and decided. Same thing with liking the video, and if you have any comments or concerns, please leave them down below. But yes, if you have subscribed and you did like the video, thank you and welcome. Okay, let's start talking about this storm. So first off, I want to show you the GFS model. GFS definitely is a proponent of this storm. Again, as I mentioned, all three models agree on this. Now, I want to mention there will be a lot of activity prior to this, but it won't really be kind of a big storm. But you already see, right, the south, east. Look at that cold front. We have the tropical moisture, the remnants kind of Nicholas, and again, lots of rain up and down the seaboard. So definitely that is a you could call that itself kind of a storm. What we will see in the future now is, well, a lot of that moisture in the south staying there. The northeast potentially getting impacted by a low pressure that starts developing. It most likely won't really make landfall, if you will. I mean, I don't really even know if I should say landfall because it's not really even a storm, but it will definitely be affecting coastal areas with some rain, potentially some rip currents. You could see that there's some wind. But what we do start seeing is another little cold front sneaking its way into the Midwest. Again, not really related to our storm system, but I just want to mention that, again, that could cause a bit of, severe weather. I would say more of just some thunderstorm chances into this weekend. So again, it's going to be active already prior to this system. But our culprit is right there. Look across the northwest and southwestern Canada, depending on your perspective, right, of the country. The countries. Look at all that precipitation. That is good news. They've been very, very dry. Some of that does sneak into Northern California. Unfortunately, not enough because, again, they would need that quite a bit more of it, quite a bit more further to the south, but it's definitely a start, and you could see it's definitely raining and snowing in higher elevations. Now, what we start seeing is actually pretty remarkable, but it does occur very often during the summer and the fall, especially during this time of the year, but maybe not to such a large scale. So what we see is a high pressure right here, and that is, again, typical, usual, nothing extreme about that itself. However, what it does, right, is it drags up with its with its clockwise flow, and you can see that there's a pretty large wind field. It drags up a lot of this kind of moisture, and it starts funneling it towards the north and northeast or north. And again, that's not really unusual. A lot of times moisture does get kind of drawn up, but we also have a low pressure here, right? Again, kind of starting to develop from that moisture right there. And we see it has a counterclockwise flow, as all low pressures do. And it starts funneling warm air and also very moist air to the north. Now, this is where these systems kind of collide, I should say, the two moisture masses, because none of them are really a storm yet. But look, we start seeing very warm air, and I want to just emphasize that it will be very, very warm, above average, I should say, because it will be already September, 20th, so it won't maybe a heat wave for everyone, but really for that time of the year, that's gonna be hot. 80s, 90s, definitely not something you would want to see if you don't like the heat. But going back to our MSLP precip, look what starts happening. This low pressure explodes, and look at all this moisture getting dragged up to the north. We see already a very strong low pressure, lots of rain, very strong winds potentially on the backside. And again, you can see at this point it's less than a week from today. A snowstorm will be probably occurring across Yellowstone, if you will, the Grand Tetons, the higher elevations. But again, not really enough to call it a snowstorm because of its minimal impacts in terms of that. But look at that, a giant comma head shaped area of precipitation starts developing across areas that again are pretty dry, so they would need that, and they hopefully will get that. But look, we start seeing a cold front develop again, kind of from that moisture across the south. That is definitely gonna be a bit something to watch for, especially look on Wednesday. We see a pretty nasty cold front develop. This really it starts taking on a positive. A positive tilt you could see right there, definitely a sign of a very strong system, and that is kind of indicative of some very strong air. Look how that cold front kind of echoes out towards the east. Very strong winds, and probably based on this strength of the system and the time of the year, pretty cool air, and that is going to be the case. A bit of cooler air is going to be with that system. However, it's not the largest air mass that's going to come through that's below average. It's definitely there, you could see, but really out ahead of it, it's much more greater in terms of anomaly of heat, warmer. Kind of, there's that warm front, that cold front. Very, very nasty system, but it does start weakening and it does kind of start falling apart, but it does still bring some rain into Canada and the eastern United States with a weak cold front. So there's a bit of cool air in place at this point. But what the GFS starts showing, kind of another flow of moisture. Maybe not a system, a storm system. Definitely more active towards the east, the south. I should say it really starts dropping more precipitation there versus this one kind of already died off by the time it gets to the east. This one really starts performing its show once it gets there, and it does develop into a pretty nasty system. And really behind this one is where that cool air can come in. You could see that, so the anomalies are definitely going to be much more significant and also much more widespread. And following this, yes, this makes it pretty darn far to the south. So that means Florida, the deep south, in the northeast, the Great Lakes, Midwest. You will get in on this just a few days earlier. But we also have very, very strong anomalies, ridging of heat coming back towards the west. Whether or not, that moves in to the east and the south, we'll have to see. Maybe potentially another cool air mass kind of breaks that before that does occur. But taking a look at the total accumulated precip for the next 384 hours, you could see it shows a lot of variance. A lot of coverage, I should say. The northeast, the south, the midwest, the upper plains. No area really seeing tons of rain. Maybe the south kind of seeing the most. But again, the GFS just kind of shows us where where the pattern favors precip, not necessarily, the exact amounts, which is impossible to predict. You can assume if a cold front develops in that little pocket where it's strongest, probably quite a significant amount of rain could fall. And again, look at that. Even the southwest, portions of Northern California, Arizona, New Mexico, getting on some of that rain. A lot of coverage. Again, it's something that's honestly good to see, because it's horrible when we have just or unfortunate, I should say, when you have just one area getting pummeled with the rain of the United States and the other one just staying dry. And oftentimes that's the case, and it still is somewhat resembling that pattern. You can see across California, so drier, but yeah, a very active pattern, I should say. And again, that big system taking the lead in that. Let's take a look at the European model. It's a very, very good model, and oftentimes considered better than the GFS. This goes out to 240, so we can't really see beyond that. But again, it does show that system. Let's take a look at it. Again, cold front, south, tropics, a lot of activity already. Definitely something that should be on your mind if you live across there in the near short term. And again, by Thursday, Friday, potentially low pressure developing. That could be dropping some showers, storms across the eastern seaboard, maybe again stirring up the waves, so definitely something to watch for. And there's our little cold front that develops across the Midwest. Maybe not severe, I should say there's a potential for severe weather with any thunderstorm, but definitely something to watch for as it kind of weakens as it approaches the northeast. But again, the main culprit right there, look at that huge chunk of moisture, moves into Oregon, Washington. Again, the European in agreement with the GFS model. Northern California, Nevada gets in on that, so that is definitely something you want to see. And look what the European does, very similar to the GFS. It takes that moisture from the south and at low pressure, and it combines these two air masses. Look at that. It already starts developing over here. Very strong. Again, snow across the higher elevations or plateaus and whatnot. Definitely a sign of, cooler and cooler air. And there's our cold front starting to develop, but really, again, the kind of the, if you will, if this was winter, this would be a blizzard, and it's fall, so it won't be. Maybe across Wyoming and Colorado where it's cold enough, there could be some snow, significant potentially, but again, mostly rain for everyone else, which is rather preferable. But again, some strong winds are definitely a concern. And look what the European does. So it doesn't really develop a single large storm. It tries to at least, but that cold front really kind of fails, at least for now, and it shoots out this low pressure from that previous moisture, and that visits kind of eastern Canada. And what this really means is that the storm is going to last a bit longer than what the GFS showed. You can see the GFS developed it and whipped it out of here. The Canadian, well, it shows this cyclone, if you will, land cyclone, kind of spinning away. It has a lot of moisture to work with, so that cold front keeps getting kind of reinvigorated to Thursday and into Friday. And with its moisture, basically what this means is that it makes it way further to the east than that GFS storm did. But yeah, you can see especially southeastern Canada, Toronto, Quebec, Ottawa, Montreal, a lot of rain with this comparatively to the GFS. And look at that right there again. As this system's a bit stronger, a bit later on, there would be a bit more cold air kind of tugging behind us. Again, it's only 240 hours out with the European, so it doesn't show us what would happen kind of, a little bit after this system, which I would assume probably a bit more chillier air. But, the signs are definitely there. Let's take a look at the 2-meter temperature anomalies. Again, out ahead of the system will be very, very, very hot. And it will be cool behind it. Notice right there, there's our wave of precip out ahead of it. Very warm. Behind it, very cool, and that could allow for some of that snow to occur, maybe a bit more than you would typically think at this time of the year. But yeah, very hot out ahead of it. Finally, once that cold front kind of goes through, it kind of neutralizes it. I wouldn't even say it brings cold air in, but it neutralizes it. And then potentially we do start seeing a wave trying to dig in here. But you can see the European not as excited about it. Really, a few model runs ago, the European was a bit more excited. So again, this is still far out, and we'll have to wait and see what the exact pattern will be with this storm. European definitely still showing it, just differently. And you could see this was a model run from the model run prior to the one I showed you. Again, very hot, but more cool air behind it, and it kind of drags in more cool air from Canada. So yeah, you could see already that was a difference, way different setup. Still showed a large system yesterday at this time of the day, and you can see that what the European did is it developed the system more in a fashion comparably to the GFS cold front, warm front, very strong winds, and it did really weaken by the time it went to the north and east, kind of what the GFS did. And you could see more cool air came in as a result of that directly behind that system. I want to show you one more model, the Canadian. So I showed you the GFS, the European. Let's show the Canadian. Again, it shows that system, and let's take a glance at it. Right now, you can see the south, the northeast, dealing with that rain. Thursday, Friday, we have that low pressure right off the coast. Shouldn't really make landfall, again, air quotes, as it's not really anything to be making landfall from. It's not really a strong system, but definitely impacting with winds and some coastal rain. There's our cold front across the Midwest and southern Canada. Definitely something to watch for. May bring a bit of showers and activity to the plains and northern Great Lakes. But again, it weakens as it pushes towards the east, the south, the west, the northwest. Definitely getting in on that action. And again, this will kind of make our system. You can see the Canadian does show that. Again, arriving Saturday, Friday, really remarkably accurately agreeing with the European and GFS. Again, the Canadian digs that down even further into California, Nevada, that precip. So that's definitely good to see. And what that means is if it's further to the south, kind of the distance between these two areas of precip are a bit less. And that's why the system, probably according to the Canadian, could develop a bit further towards the south. And you can see that it's exactly what happens. Brings mountain snow, a lot of rain to the plains, but it's not as well developed until it reaches Wednesday, Thursday, but it does develop nonetheless. Lots of rain, lots of precipitation, and you can see that scoots off to the north and east. And you can see that Canadian does introduce some cool air, but look at that. It also shows a giant tropical system of some kind, which again we'll have to watch for. Not all models show that. Again, the European and Canadian or GFS did not, but again, the constant tropical moisture means that these systems will have an easier time to develop if any more of those waves coming across in the northwest or southwestern Canada, respectively. And 2 meter temperature anomaly, you can see the Canadian does show cool air behind it, just a bit further towards the west oriented, not really the east, but at least it's there, so there's some agreement. Just again, positioning is different. And in terms of total accumulated precip, look at that, favoring obviously the Great Lakes, the south, the northwest. Definitely some areas of rain in between, so that's good. And again, that is that tropical system that it shows. Hopefully, that doesn't bring in much more precip. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. That's pretty much it. Just wanted to update you on this. And the GEFS ensembles, this is a bunch of models. Again, you can't really look at them just for a storm system, but maybe for a temperature pattern, and you can see that they really favor quite a bit of warm temperatures. A bit of cool air does sneak into the northwest, but it seems that the ensembles really kind of are showing a warm pattern as we go into deeper and deeper into fall, which I thought would be which is what I think will be the case. This is the European ensembles. You can see they do show a chunky air of cool air across the northwest. Out ahead of it, that warm air, but again, it looks as if that warm air remains more dominant. All right, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you all on the next episode. See ya.